Hi again. Well, now let's have a look at the Heartfelt Forgiveness prayer. As you can see on the screen, this is the full prayer, and we're going to be going through this step by step. But I suggest maybe if you don't actually have a physical copy of this or an option to download it, then maybe just take a screenshot of this at the moment so that you can refer back and when you're actually praying with someone, you can actually go through it step by step. But for now, we're going to go and have a look at step one. Mm-hmm. Hi again. So we finally get to the practical part of going through the forgiveness prayer. But before we do that, we really need to set up the room, don't we? We need to have a place that is safe, really, for the person who's coming for ministry. Yep. So we're saying there, have a quiet, safe, friendly environment, such as a lounge room, sitting room, or interview room. Somewhere where whatever you're sharing is not going to be overheard. Yeah. And if that person gets really emotional and is crying a lot, then they're not going to feel embarrassed by that. Yeah. And I guess that goes on to a next quite important point, and that is have a box of tissues ready. Yep. Because I'd say from our own experience, 90% of the time, people, both men and women, end up crying because of the release of that emotion when they forgive. Yep. So make sure you have a full box of tissues ready to go. Yep. And I remember one guy that went through a whole box of tissues. They had such deep wounding in his heart that he just cried and cried and cried. Yeah. Went through a whole box. I've never seen that before. Okay, so the next point is to have another person pray with you who can quietly pray and listen to God and give some prophetic insight. And this is really important because when you're taking a person through forgiveness, often you're looking at what's happening in front of you and not really able to listen to the Holy Spirit so clearly. And so to have a person sitting beside you who can write down some notes and pass to you,
pray or with and
keep praying through as you're ministering, and or whisper in your ear, whatever is you work out between you. But to have that person there is essential. It really is.
So Ian and I, we minister together usually, and if it's a man, Ian will lead the prayer, and I do just pray in the background. And if it's a woman, we reverse that role. And it's really essential to have them actually, because sometimes, like when I might be leading a lady through this ministry, and Ian will be getting prophetic words and words of knowledge and words of wisdom for me that I need to actually know what direction to ask questions and to lead them into certain areas of forgiveness. And because when we're trying to get to the root causes, we're really looking for that prophetic insight. So this role is very important here, and I think you need to have some sort of relationship with that person. It doesn't have to be husband and wife, but at least you need to be comfortable with each other.
Yeah, that's right.
And you'll find that if you do it on a regular basis together, you'll flow together better, and you'll be able to help each other a lot more. So that's a very important role, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah.
Now, there's another aspect of that, and that is that only one of you leads the person in prayer. The other person might give you insights, but they are not to take over your role of being the leader. They are just there to help you and stand by your side. So, because it confuses the person if you're jumping between the two of you as to who is actually leading them in the prayer.
Yeah. And I guess the point of this is, and we'll go into this a little bit later, I guess, is that as you're leading that person in prayer, you're actually leading them. You're saying out, you're getting them to ask questions and to get them to hear from God themselves. Yes. And so if you're getting two people asking the questions, it gets really
very
confusing. Okay, so the next point is don't pray with members of the opposite sex alone. Yeah. Because it really does create soul ties. And certainly my adultery happened not because I was so physically attracted to that other girl, but she actually shared her heart and some very deep hurts, and I felt so sorry for her, and that
passionate towards her.
Compassion, and that relationship started from there, and it became
dangerous.
Dangerous, yes. All right. So if you're praying with a child, have a parent present.
Yeah.
That's vital because the parent needs to know what, as you know, as the one who is responsible for that child.
Yeah.
They need to be there to know what you're doing with them.
And it protects you from any false accusations as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I guess really on that point, it's important to let them know, unless you are a professional counsellor, let them know that you're not a professional counsellor, that you're really relying on the Holy Spirit to do this, and that it's we're not giving professional advice.
No, not in any capacity at all. Right? So that is also very important. Yeah.
And so I guess in light of that, because it's not professional advice, you definitely shouldn't be charging for this either.
No.
Yeah, it
is it's a free gift to other people.
Yeah.
And another thing is, don't start doing this unless you yourself have gone through the forgiveness prayer. And if you have never forgiven in this way, you may have gone through things and you've forgiven, but try going through them again and do it in this way so that you can maybe identify roots that you may not have identified before, but also just to give yourself practice and so that the prayer just becomes natural to you.
Yeah.
But also I think that often I know myself, I forgave and I chose to forgive. I didn't always know to say how it made me feel. That was something that we learnt from our Married for Life course. And certainly no one taught us to actually renounce the judgments. But that was something that we picked up on the way. And we found that the renouncing the judgments is so critical. So you may have forgiven, but you may not have renounced the judgments you've made against other people. So this is a great way of actually making sure you're in the right place, because you can't take people to a place you have not been.
That's right.
So I'd really recommend, trying it out on yourself, or have someone you trust to take you through it, whatever. But really do try and give yourself some practice. And then when we first started, we actually asked God to give us someone to practice on who was willing to know it was just practice, and that so that we could get the skills necessary. And that's also a good thing to do, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And we were amazed at how free that person got from even our faltering tries of taking someone through forgiveness. Yeah.
Because it's not about you, it's about the Holy Spirit working in their life.
Yeah.
Right. So other things to get started are
to take notes.
Yeah.
And that can really put people on edge if they think that you're taking down their private information. But just take notes to keep you on track, so that you don't go and say, well, now we probably need to forgive your sister when they don't actually have a sister.
That's right. Exactly.
So take the notes to keep you on track during that interview. Tell them, particularly that those notes will be theirs at the end of the prayer session, that you're going to give them those notes. And particularly note down anything that the Lord tells them, because they're hearing from God themselves. And it's important for them to be reminded of what God has shown them through that session.
Yeah. Now the other thing is too, when they're going through the first step of the prayer of actually saying, I choose to forgive, and how it made them feel, note down how it made them feel, because sometimes those feelings will be repeated over and over, and you will know that is a stronghold in their mind. And that's very important to actually have that notebook. And so anything that stands out to you when you're either interviewing them, or that you feel you might need to go back to, note those things down, because then you won't miss them and you won't forget them. And it will help you also to focus, help you to hear the Holy Spirit to know where to focus on.
And if you're anything like us, because we've prayed with so many hundreds of people, we tend to forget everything. Some of the more horrifying stories we might remember parts of, but not even who actually said them. And you can reassure them that you probably won't remember the things that they've told you.
Well, you're purposely going to forget, and you're not going to share them with anyone. It's totally private information.
It's got to be confidential. It's essential that they have that trust and confidence
Yeah.
So the next thing, as we said before, is to lead them in prayer and have them pray out loud.
Yes.
That's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a good reason for that, and I'm going to highlight this later. But really, when you speak something out, often we don't even know what's in our heart and in our mind until we actually start speaking it out. And it draws it out of us, and it brings us it from the inside of us, where it's causing us torture, into the outside, where we can examine those thoughts and actually recognise that they're not right.
Yeah.
And so it's brings the thoughts out of darkness and into the light.
Yeah.
So it's very critical that they don't just pray silent prayers in their head. You need to lead them and speak it out, but they need to fill in, obviously, the parts of the prayer where there's gaps. They have to fill in those things. And that's, it's very, very important to do it out loud. So the next thing is...
Right, keep your eyes open.
Yeah, very essential. Don't pray with your eyes closed.
Yeah. Even though we're very conditioned to do that, aren't we? But keep your eyes open, watch their face and see what the Holy Spirit is doing. Because often the Holy Spirit might be doing something in them and you might not need to just keep silent for a bit and
just watch what happens.
Yeah, we had this with one girl that her eyes were flickering and she was just
saying peculiar.
And we thought, what's going on here? And quite often being led of the Holy Spirit means you just need to
be quiet and wait.
And so we did. We just we waited, and when she did open her eyes, we did ask her what was going on there, and she'd actually had a vision of Jesus.
Yeah.
And that totally changed the whole situation, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were able to lead her to the Lord.
Yeah.
But so you can do this prayer with non-Christians if they're willing to forgive, and you can explain to them that forgiveness will set them free, and some non-Christians are willing to do it, because many people go to counsellors for depression and anxiety and things like that, and counsellors know that forgiveness is a very important part of their healing. So they might know that they need to forgive, but they may not know how to forgive, and that's why this is quite critical. And when you're actually praying with that person, it's okay if they have their eyes closed. In fact, it's quite often very helpful for them because it helps them to concentrate, I think. They don't have to, but if they want to, when they close their eyes, they can often focus in on what the emotion is on the inside that they're needing to deal with. Yeah, so it doesn't matter that they have their eyes closed, but it's very important that you
keep yours open.
Keep yours open and watch. And we've seen people literally look like, that the emotions are so deep that when they're starting to name those emotions, it looks like they're about to explode because it's just so painful for them. You'll see the pain on their face, but as soon as they have actually forgiven, you'll see the incredible peace come on them.
We've seen people grow younger almost, like
10 years younger looking when they're finished forgiving.
Yeah.
So this is a very, very important step.
Yeah. And sessions, don't rush them.
Yeah.
They often take 1 to 2 hours. I think we've sometimes gone to 3. I certainly wouldn't go too much past 3 because you get tired, they get tired. And if you do need to do another session, then
it's okay.
It's okay. But the important thing is to stop, as you can see here, at a place where they've found peace with the Lord. So there may still be people to forgive and things to do, but where they find a place where they've got some level of victory and peace in their lives.
Yes. And they've encountered God in some way. And you'll be able to see that on their face. You'll just sense that this person has found a place of rest. And so let's say something that we've found is that most people have really big issues with their father, which we're going to go on to now, talking about the different roles of your parents and your family. But because you may take 1 or 2 hours just to forgive that one person, and really that may not be everything. So if that's the case, just do the dad, and then do mum another session.
Yeah, that's right.
And because some people have very, very destroyed lives in their childhood. They have lots of woundings, and it's really going to be could be
A long
a
process.
long process to take them through this forgiveness.